It's the end of 2013 and there's been a lot of smartphones released this year. Which ones are the dogs? Which ones are the winners? We've got a whole bunch of smartphones here. What have we got that we think is the first one to go out?
I'm afraid it's got to be the BlackBerry Z10.
They really screwed the pooch on this one. The gesture control wasn't very obvious, and even when you did use it, then it didn't make much sense. It looked like an iPhone or an Android and actually didn't quite do the things that you wanted from any of them. Didn't have as many apps and just wasn't as interesting generally. And for a BlackBerry user, didn't have a keyboard.
Bit of a dog then.
It's a dog.
Next up, we've got the Sony Xperia Z1. Now, this is a bit different from the rest in the lineup because it's waterproof. It's Sony's premium smartphone experience, Android, Jelly Bean, and to be fair, it's a pretty good phone.
I've got to say, my first reaction is that I don't greatly like it. This feels a bit like having, I don't know, a girder in your hand. It's just really, really heavy.
It's big, isn't it? I mean, it's significantly bigger than the others.
It makes itself feel big, I think, because of these sharp corners that it's got and the lack of rounding. The button for turning it on there feels really nasty. I could see that would catch if you had some sort of delicate clothing or something. And being waterproof, okay, so if you drop it in the sink, say, that might be nice, but does it make up for everything else? I'd just be more careful around the sink.
Next up, we've got the Motorola Moto G. This is Motorola's first smartphone released into the UK since being acquired by Google. And basically what they've done is they've tried to revolutionise or disrupt, in their language, the budget smartphone market, and for all intents and purposes, they've managed it.
So it's really cheap. It's how much?
£135.
Okay, which is a really good price for a phone which does a lot of the things that you'd expect out of top-end smartphones. Feels rather nice.
It's fast, it's fluid, and there's no lag in there. Compared to most budget smartphones, it's miles better.
Not bad. Budget smartphone, we won't throw you away. The HTC One, this was, I thought this was the best Android phone of the year myself because it's got a nice design, it feels premium, sound from the speakers is terrific.
Oh yes, the boom sound speakers sounded like a marketing gimmick, but when you fired them up, it truly was like, wow, I didn't realise a phone could sound this good.
The only thing that I found was a detractor was the fact that, as HTC does, it has its control button up at the top. I'm reaching up to hit it, and it's not as convenient as you might wish for.
It's a bit of a stretch. Yeah, I really like the HTC One. Fantastic build quality, premium materials, and it's beautiful. It's a really nice design.
Let's not chug it to the back of the sofa. Favourite for me, I think, this year, the iPhone 5S. It has its sibling, the new sibling, the iPhone 5C, where the C stands for colour, apparently, rather than cheaper, which everyone was expecting. But I think things like the fingerprint reader, which is really consistent and which is really simple to use, and the new iOS 7 software, which means you can swipe around things and you can reach all of the screen very easily. And the speed of it and all the apps as well. The app selection is terrific for it. That, to me, actually means that I prefer this over any of the Android phones.
It is a very complete package. I mean, that kind of comes from Apple's way of doing things. It's one company that makes hardware, software, the whole ecosystem. And it does make a difference. The 5S is a really good phone, and it ticked a lot of boxes. The one thing that didn't tick for me was the screen size. Yeah,
the screen size is interesting. I suspect that the way that iOS 7 works, where you can swipe anywhere on the screen to control it, means that what they're looking at doing is having a bigger screen phone, perhaps something more like that sort of size, or even the HTC One size. It's not that much different. And with iOS 7 running on something that size, you could have a really effective phone. I think Apple would sell absolute tons of them if they did that, especially if they built one for China, and Asia generally, where big screens are much more popular.
Definitely. So this is my favourite phone of the year. This is the Google Nexus 5. Now this is the latest, the 5th generation in the Nexus series, built by LG but basically controlled by Google. So this is a Google phone through and through. The camera, whereas it's not the highest quality there is, does have optical image stabilization, which is quite a feat to cram into such a small space. The design is compact for a 5-inch screen phone. It's fast, fluid, and as Android should be, or at least that's what Google says.
And what sort of price are we talking about?
You see, this is one of the beauties. It's a premium smartphone experience, but at less than premium price. It's only £300.
So how does Google do this? We've had the Moto G, which is a company which is owned by Google, where they've got basically a premium smartphone for a budget price, and now you've got the Nexus, which again is in effect sort of controlled by Google, where again they've done pretty much the same sort of thing. Is Google just basically absorbing all the cost on this?
I mean, you could definitely say that. They don't need to make money on the hardware because they can make it up on the software. So everything that you do through this is the Google Play Store. You buy your music, your videos, your apps, all through the Google services, and they make that up.
So Google's basically sort of subsidising it. Interesting. What do you think we're going to see next year? I'd expect that we're going to see prices pushed down more next year as more and more people have a smartphone. They don't need another smartphone. There isn't the same drive to update.
I mean, for me, it's all about better and better software. We've seen, I mean, for instance, iOS 7 was quite a big leap over iOS 6, and Google's gone for kind of a minimal refinement to the overall operating system. What it's done is integrated its services more and more, especially Google Now.
And the other thing I'd expect to see next year in 2014 is just better battery life. I think that the manufacturers are going to focus more on battery life just as a key thing that they can differentiate between each other on. I think we're already seeing a sort of a topping out in terms of the speed of the processor. You can't actually do more by adding more cores or ramping up the gigahertz.
And I mean, the screens have got to the point where they're so crisp and so sharp, there's really nowhere to go. I mean,
there's no point in doing more than your eye can
you
see.
can arbitrarily boost it, but it's just a numbers game after that.